You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.
And we are back. It's Thursday morning, and you know what happens on Thursday mornings. You get to hang out at LA40. I'm your host, Katerina Cozias, and this is the show, yes it is, where we think LA means LA, Los Angeles, because that's where we're broadcasting from, but actually, we're playing on the words life after 40. Because there is life after 40, or is there? I don't know. That's what we're here to find out. So thanks for tuning in with me every week as we delve into that. For those of you that know, I turned 40 a few months ago, and, you know, there was just this proverbial cliff sort of hanging out there in front of me, right? It's like, if you haven't achieved, if you haven't checked all those boxes, if you don't have that white picket fence and the 2.5 dogs and a divorce behind you, well, then, shit, you haven't achieved anything. And I thought, well, no, there's got to be more to life after 40 than this, and so that's what we're here to explore. Today, I am so excited to be joined in studio by all these fabulous people. Hi, fabulous people.
Hey,
hello.
hey.
I'm also excited to say that we are streaming live on Facebook. Yes, thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, for getting us, you know, moving into the 21st century, all hot and heavy with IT. So if you're following us on Facebook, hi guys. Today, oh my goodness, what do you do when the physical starts to fail? Well, you tap into the mental. How the heck do you do that? We're going to explore what that means. Because, you know, as we age, things happen to our bodies. You know, I know for me, I was out jogging and my Achilles heel was starting to like act up, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I should just go put my high heels back on, right? Because I'm comfortable in high heels. But a lot of times, yeah, the physical starts to fail, and you need to tap into something a little bit more powerful, and that's where that mental stability comes in. I'm joined by some really fascinating guests today that are going to get us inspired and reminded that it is so very important to tune into what it is up here. And if you're listening on audio, I'm pointing to my head. So let me get on with that with the guest introduction, because that's what we're here to do. So my first guest is Shannon Farar-Griefer. Hi, Shannon. Hi. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. So, Shannon, you are an extreme athlete. You're an author. You're a motivational speaker. What we mean by extreme athlete, folks, listen to this. She runs, just for fun, 100-mile plus ultra marathons. And not only does she do that once, but she does double of those sometimes. She's going to get into what it means to run the Badwater. The Badwater is a Death Valley type of track. She's done it twice. She's run a double. You're the first woman ever to run a double.
I was the first woman in the world to run the official double Badwater race, which was finishing the race at the portals of Mount Whitney. Then I summited Mount Whitney. Then I ran back. So it's a total of 292 miles.
292 miles. My goodness. And to add to that, 10 years ago, you were diagnosed with MS.
Yeah.
So you had a real heavy, here you go, surprise given to you in life that you have managed to surmount. We're going to get into how you did that in just a minute. Okay. I also want to introduce our second guest, who's going to be our phone-in guest, Mr. Rodney Flowers. Mr. Rodney Flowers is an international best-selling author. He's also a motivational speaker, and he is the author of the newest, his latest book, Get Up. Get Up, and it's subtitled, I Can't, I Will, I Did. Mr. Flowers was a high school athlete, boom, gets tackled in a football match and becomes a quadriplegic. He is told he is never going to walk again, and Mr. Rodney Flowers calls bullshit on that and has managed to get himself up and walking. Now, this has taken many, many years, and I trust has not been an easy uphill battle. Mr. Rodney Flowers is going to tell us how the heck you deal with something as realistic as that. We also are joined by Dr. Kim Chronister. Hi, Dr. Kim.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Dr. Kim, I'm so excited because you have a new book out as well called Peak Mindset.
Peak Mindset, yes. So I work with a lot of retired athletes, retired actors. They have to kind of reshape their identity. CEOs as well, or new CEOs kind of rebuilding their identity.
Yeah.
So as a licensed clinical psychologist, I definitely work with them to rebuild their identity.
Yeah, you're going to let us know how we can get into that flow state. Right?
It's
Yeah.
exciting, yeah.
It is exciting.
Some
and
tricks
then
and tips.
I was going to say tricks and tips. And one of the people that's using some tricks and tips, but also some hard work, you can see it, is our last guest. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Marquis Lyons. How are you, sir?
Great. Thanks for having me. Great. I love the energy in here today.
I'm so excited that
now.
you're here because this man right here, folks, 56 years old. If you are watching, you can see that he looks damn hot. And he is exactly that shining example. I was so pumped that he could be on the show today. He is a trainer, he is a coach, and he competes against people half his age in physical and competitions. And I'm so excited that you're not one of those 56-year-olds that says, well, because I'm 56, I got to just have a beer belly and give up. No, folks, because you're 56, now is when you got to get up and go. So we're going to get this show started. Shannon, tell us a little bit about why in the heck you would want to run these crazy marathons.
Well, I'm 56.
Woo!
Wow.
I love it.
So I ran my first marathon when I was 34.
Okay.
So I never ran before. I hated running, actually. And I ran my first marathon basically to lose those unwanted post-pregnancy pounds that we have. So
ladies, you're gonna get it. So you never ran before mid-30s?
No, never ran.
Wow.
No, I never liked it. I was a tomboy.
Okay.
So
Okay.
But anyway, so I ran my first marathon, and then I ran a couple more, and then I did triathlons, and I realized it's running that I like. But my problem was at mile 20, when everyone hurts, is when I start to feel good. So I thought, is there anything beyond marathon, 26.2 miles, and there was actually an ultra marathon, which is 31, 50, 62, or 100 mile, or the Death Valley 135 mile, which is the big daddy of them all.
Wow.
And I ran my first 50K, and I came in, I think, 4th or 5th woman. It was through the mountains. It wasn't on the roads. It wasn't through the streets of Los Angeles. It was through the mountains. And
So I'm expecting through the mountains, you've got bloody feet, you've got
snakes and
dehydration,
mountain
you've got
lions.
snakes and mountain lions.
yeah, it's great. I loved it. I felt empowered, and there was freedom. I loved it, and I just, I finished, and I looked for my next one, and then just started running. I loved mountain running. I love being out in the mountains, and you're free, and it's just a feeling of just, it's who I am. Right. But so then I ran a couple more 50-milers, and then I skipped this 62-mile distance, and I thought I'd attempt my first 100-miler, which I did in Texas, and there's signs saying, please do not feed or harass the alligators, which you don't want to do. And so finished my first 100-mile race, and somehow I was talked into running this crazy race through Death Valley. It's 135 miles. You start at Badwater, which is the lowest point in the United States. That's 282 feet below sea level. Wow. And you run to the portals of Mount Whitney. So,
because you got nothing else to do, right?
Like, why not? Why not? And the thing that I didn't like the most was the pavement. It was all pavement. So we're taught to run on the white line because the asphalt can get to about 180 degrees.
Incredible.
So somehow I was talked into wanting to double this crazy race. I'm like, why would I want to double it? Shouldn't I run the one way first?
135 miles isn't enough. I mean, I can't walk. I get annoyed when I'm at the end of the parking lot on a busy Saturday when I'm going grocery shopping, that I got to walk the whole parking lot. How the heck do you do 135 miles, but double it? That's 292.
Yeah. You know what? I kind of broke it up into pieces. It's, as we say in my sport, 80% is mental and the other 20% is mental. Mm-hmm. So
pretty much.
It's pretty much all mental. And I kind of broke it up into pieces like I did. I just knew I wanted to finish the race first and have that under my belt. Mm-hmm. And then I felt good enough to summit the mountain, but the rangers wouldn't let us up right away because they were having thunderstorms. So I had to sit till like midnight, which was difficult to do because I didn't want to get comfortable. I was
going to say, is stopping even worse? Because then your muscles start to, I would expect, start to cool, and you start to feel that physical tiredness.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm very comfortable being in my uncomfortable zone. So I didn't want to get comfortable, so I would check weather reports and saw that we could start climbing the mountain at around midnight, so I summited Mount Whitney, got to the top. I'm like, that's it? All that for this? I'm like, where's the Starbucks?
But wait a minute, I just want to back up for a second. So you started running at midnight? How could you
Yeah.
even see at midnight?
We had headlamps, and I had a crew. And
Did you
it
have
was-
one of the headlamps?
Yeah, it was
cool.
yeah, it looks pretty cool. But I know all my I have 3 sons, and all their friends are like, God, your mom has the coolest flashlight collection. That's my claim to fame. But and then I
So
felt,
what drives you?
you know what? I run for a charity, and I run for, prior to my MS diagnosis, I was running for children with cancer and children with autism. And I would visit the children at Children's Hospital, and I got involved with the children with autism. And I think of a lot of people that, have been, their life has changed, and, and parents that have children that are sick. And I want to be there to help them, and running has allowed me to raise money and bring awareness to these special causes.
Right.
And now I'm running for erasems.org, which is a great charity that I'm involved with, which helps bring research and to MS, and I'm very active with that.
Now, you got diagnosed at age 45.
At age 45.
How did that diagnosis, I mean, when you get told, and for those of you that don't know about MS, it's multiple sclerosis, right? So tell us a little bit about the disease first.
It's
Or I
an
guess
autoimmune disease.
yeah.
It affects your nerves. It's I have lesions on my brain, on the myelin of the sheath of my brain. So that's how it was diagnosed. I was actually I had run a few 100-mile races in a year. And it was this one I was doing in October, and I felt my body was just not the same as, your legs hurt in a 100-mile race, but this was a different hurt, and I quit the race, actually. And then a couple weeks later, I was waking up every night, like in fetal position and pain.
Yeah.
I went to my doctor, and he thought for sure I'd done nerve damage because of all the running I was doing. So he did all these nerve tests, and he said, let me send you to a neurologist. And they did an MRI, brain scan, and they saw the lesions. And then it was funny. It was not funny, but it was like on a Monday, and he goes, "Okay, we'll come in next Tuesday, 8 more days to get your results." And so 2 days later, they called me. They said, "Can you come in today?"
Oh.
And I thought, okay, something. So anyway, we did more brain scans. I did a lumbar puncture, did other tests. So they diagnosed me with MS, and he said, you need to start treatment right away. You're going to be in a wheelchair in a year. I said, can I do one more race? Because I thought it was my last, and I didn't tell him it was Death Valley.
Can I do one more 135-mile race?
Figure I'll go out with a bang. So I went and ran that race, and my husband at the time said, let's go to Tahiti and let your feet heal, and before you have to start this new life of giving yourself injections every day. So we went with my 2 older boys. And at 45, almost 46 years old, I came home pregnant from Tahiti with that precious little boy over there.
Wow.
We have an audience today.
Yeah, Jet.
Shout out to Jet.
So I couldn't start the treatment. And so I couldn't do MRIs either. So
But you could keep running.
I ran, and they
Right.
put me on bed rest in my 7th month because I was still running.
Wow,
and, it was
unbelievable.
and they're like,
There's some tenacity, right, Marky?
Yes,
There's some
it
tenacity
is.
right there.
Wow.
they're like, how far are you running? I said, like 20 miles. And my doctor goes, okay, you're going on bed rest. So when Jet was 4 months old, I had another scan, and they're like, wow, you have no new lesions, which was kind of a miracle because prior to that, I was getting new lesions with every MRI. So, and then I nursed Jet for quite a couple years. He's always embarrassed.
Like Jet.
He's like, do you have 2
That's a whole other show.
Yeah. So,
But clearly, 10 years later, you're not in a wheelchair.
no, I'm not in a wheelchair, and my MS, I felt, was put into remission. I believe the pregnancy and the nursing, and I have some, I don't know, there's some truth behind maybe the mother hormones or something with women. And anyway, so during a divorce, I think the stress will do it. Just try to live a stress-free life if you can. I believe brought it back, and I was on treatment for about 3 years,
Okay.
giving myself injections, and I had a nurse come and would give me.
Now, how did that play mentally with you? Did you fall into any sort of depression?
Yes.
Because I can imagine when you're told, hey, you're going to be in a wheelchair in a year and you're a runner. I mean,
Yeah.
just that must be hugely stressful.
Yeah, you kind of have to take it as it's a shocker at first, and yeah, you can get a little depressed, but then I'm a mom, and there's people that are in wheelchairs that have it a lot worse than me. So that was my motivation to just keep living my life. I'm not going to let this disease stop me from living my life.
Right.
I mean, I've missed out on a few races, but big deal. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So I just continue to live my life. I'm running the Death Valley race again on July 10th. So
This is going to be your 7th Death Valley.
my 7th finish.
So 56 years old, MS,
Warrior.
Thank you, and seventh. This will be your 7th attempt.
Yeah, I'm
Are
going
you
for 10.
nervous? Are you scared? You're 56 years old.
I'm 56
Isn't that
years
unbelievable?
young.
Wow.
56 years young.
56 years
Wow.
young. We got to change it to that. I love
Man.
that. Dr. Kim, I'm going to get you to pop in here for a minute.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure you've seen similar diagnoses come across your desk. People that are athletes that may be, in peak physical form, and then boom, they get told something that they may not want to hear.
That's usually the crossroad that I kind of pick them up in. It's when they have kind of like a chronic pain issue, so they become addicted to opioids, or they don't and they're simply suffering through it and trying to find other ways to cope. But yeah, chronic medical issues absolutely correlate with some severe mental health issues like mood disorders and generalized anxiety, and it completely can impair your functioning in every area of life, whether it's relationships or occupations. So to have something adaptive like a protective barrier like running a marathon is absolutely some kind of a protective barrier or a cure for that mental health condition. So
Why? How?
what it does is basically it does a lot of things. It can help you in the 3 areas of happiness. So basically those are connection, meaning and purpose, and activity. So if you're running a marathon, now you may have meaning and purpose because you attach it to a charity. You've got activity, obviously, and then you've got connection because you're typically running with other people when you're competing, or forming bonds with other people that are like-minded. So you're hitting all the areas of happiness according to positive psychology research, which are protective barriers. So I always go to that when people are kind of struggling with depressive disorders or addiction.
Now, did you feel depressed at any time through this whole course of the last 10 years?
Not
I suppose, you got pregnant, you got diagnosed with MS, you got divorced.
I went through a lot, but I keep on fighting.
Oh, you look great, too, by the way. I feel like the energy, you folks can't feel it, but we can feel it. He commented earlier. There's some good energy in this
Great
room.
energy.
Yeah.
You know what I went through? Yeah, it was hard for me to take, but I just felt like I can keep moving on. I've overcome a lot in my life, and I feel like this is just another obstacle that I'm facing, and that I can take it on. And I just keep fighting. I have 3 sons. I run for wonderful charities. I feel like my body's strong enough. The lesson that it's taught me, that disease, was to live in the moment, which I never did before. I was constantly, my whole calendar was full for the next year of races. Now I live for that day. I live in the moment, and it's really a gift because a lot of people don't do that, especially here in LA. We're on such a fast track, and I think that it's really taught me to live in the moment and appreciate every day that I'm healthy.
Yes.
And the days that I'm not, I know what to do. Being an ultramarathon runner, you know your body so well. So
Do you listen to your body? Do you listen to that? Do you take the time to say, okay, I'm feeling the fatigue, I'm going to go take a nap, or do you try and battle through it?
No, I take the time and listen to my body, and I wipe out my calendar, and I just know what I have to do, and I can't fight it. It's something like in an ultramarathon when you're at a lull and everything hurts and you want to quit. You can quit. Here with MS, you just can't quit. This disease is more powerful than me, but I'm taking it on.
Right.
So I just know what to do. I just relax, and I try to be, as stress-free as possible.
Tell us a little bit more about the run. How can people get involved, or where can they go? Website?
EraseMS.org, and you can go to the donation page, and you'll see my name, Shannon Farar-Griefer, and I'll be running 135 miles for the many who fight MS, including myself. So if you'd like to make a donation, it's for a wonderful cause. It's Nancy Davis, who's done so many wonderful things for this disease.
Great.
And I hope I'm here when we find a cure, because we're on the road to that, but because
Absolutely.
of people like Nancy Davis.
And people like you.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. If you're just tuning in, we're here at LA40ing. We're talking all things life after 40 with some cool people. Not everyone on the panel and tuning in and calling in is 40. You don't have to be 40, 50, 60. You could be 25. There's lots of good value that we share. Today we're chatting about really delving into the mental strength that it takes to keep the physical going, because we're what is it? Spiritual, mental, and physical beings, right? All of that,
Yes.
all of that together. We're going to be joined by our second caller, Rodney Flowers. In just a moment, Rodney's going to be calling in and sharing a little bit about what he's got for us in his book. So his book is called, like I mentioned, Get Up. And he is a shining example of someone who is getting up in life, an international best-selling author. And he's going to be with us in just a minute. Marquis, I wanted to chat with you as we're waiting for Rodney to call in.
Great.
You hear somebody like Shannon doing a 135-mile run. How do you feel? Because I'm sure you get on a treadmill and you do a little bit of that, laps around the track.
Unbelievable. See, I teach spin classes as well, so I teach spin classes for LA Fitness a lot. So I'm not the kind of the amateur hour, I'm kind of the advanced hour kind of guy. So I'm like, for you to tell me running like that extreme cardio and back to back, I am just like somewhere up in the hemispheres right now. I'm at awe at you right now, like kudos to you to even do that. So.
Yes.
And for me, I've been an athlete for a long time. As young, my parents allowed me to get involved young, and at an early young age, I felt that I was like, wow, I know what I want to look like, and I know what I do not want to look like. So I stayed active for a long time as far as being an athlete. And now at the proud age of 56, I got a birthday coming up 2 days after you run your last one, in July the 12th. I add another year to my life. And I started competing a year ago. I did 4 shows in 2 years now. I placed top 3 in these shows. I competing masters, but my best thing I like competing in is opens, because opens mean it's all comers. I mean, I get to go against the young guys. So the last one when I took 3rd in, I think the oldest competitor in my show was probably 28. The field was probably 23.
You took 3rd in a show where the oldest other competitor was 28 years old?
Well, our advantage, too, is experience, right?
Hey, that's what I like to say. I said I put the hard work in, and hard work does pay off.
Yep.
And it's lifestyle for me now, so I love it.
Now, what do you say to people that say to you, you're 56, dude, you got to, why are you doing it? What do you say?
I tell them I like it, and it's lifestyle. It becomes lifestyle. It's just like, instead of like people just live to eat, I do it the opposite. I eat to live.
That's great.
So therefore, that's a part of eating to live. So I figure doing this spiritually, it's a gift from God to get up every day to be able to move a movement, because like you said, some people are not able to get up and do that. So every day that I'm allowed to get breath and move, I start my morning out with a workout, with the evening train, and I train a lot of seniors, which I was talking to this young lady over here.
Seniors?
My last one, she's been diagnosed with cancer, and it's now in remission. So we've been working out together for close to about like a year now. And my thing is with her, like, they got on this medication. My whole thing, I want to get her off that medication. I want to get her off and let her know you don't even need that, but I just need you to have that willpower to fight, just like as you do. As long as you got the will, you can fight. As long as you can fight, you can win.
Well, you can win, and you've won some championships. I'm going to just go back to Shannon for a second. Just tell us one of your worst experiences, like being up, like, because I still can't get over running in the dark with snakes and blisters on my feet and bloody. I mean, like.
You know what? I don't want to say worst experiences, because I've learned how to. I learned from all those. I've had
most unique experience.
Most unique. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, a couple weeks ago, it's kind of funny. So the race now, the Badwater race starts at night. So I found a race that starts at night at 8 p.m. because it's hard to start a race at night at 8 p.m. because we're running. This is nonstop, by the way. So it's 135 miles nonstop.
How long does that take?
Well, you have 48 hours to run it. So I do in about 40-ish. So there's that ish.
So Marky, you tell your spin classers tomorrow if they want to give up, you point them to Shannon's direction.
I'm definitely going to be like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I found this race. It's called Born to Run. It's kind of a real hippie fun.
Sorry, what's it called?
It's called Born to Run. It's up in Santa Ynez. It's beautiful. My friend Luis Escobar puts it on, and it's a real, like, how the old ultra runners, the old school, and just everyone camps out. And so it was like a 3-day event. It was like Woodstock meets ultra running. So I went out to, run a 100-mile race, and it started at 8 p.m. So because I just moved, I didn't have flashlights. I didn't have all my gear. I put on my socks, and they have holes in it. I picked up a flashlight on the way there. I couldn't,
Didn't have a battery.
Yeah. I start this race with one handheld water bottle. Make a long story short, I get lost. I'm in the middle of the mountains all by myself. Mind you, like, I need to sleep with a light on or TV on at night, but I can run through the mountains at night and have no fear.
I'm just going to pause you for one second. I want to answer Rodney's call because I think this is him. I'm going to let you keep talking, but let's get him on the phone here. Hi, you're tuning into LA Talk Radio.
Hello, this is Rodney Flowers.
Oh, Rodney, thank you so much for dialing in. We're happy to have you here, sir.
Glad to be here.
Perfect. We just hang on the line with me, Rodney, 1 second, because we just have Shannon finishing a story for us. and then we're going to bump it over to you. But hang tight, you can hear the end of it. Go ahead, Shannon.
Okay, so anyway, so I got lost. I was scared to death. I was like out there by myself. I'm yelling, runner, runner. But prior to that, a few of us were running together, and we couldn't find the trails because it was so overgrown. All you see is like a little orange flag hanging on like a little tree or something. So so I was lost, and I meant to get back to the headquarters at 10. I ended up getting back about 2.
So you
and
were
I was
lost up in the hills in the dark for 4 hours.
And then I kind of got back, and it was like I was freezing because I meant to get back at 2 and get my nighttime stuff. So now I'm hypothermic. So the guy at the medical goes, here, just sit here. He put a blanket over me. I sat by a heater, and I go, you know what, I'm just going to go sit in my car for like 15 minutes. And I was, continued. I wanted to get back up and run like at 3 o'clock in the morning and go because there were runners out there. Anyway, I wake up. I'm like, it's awfully light out to be 3 o'clock in the morning. I look at my clock. It was 7:30.
Wow.
You were just exhausted.
I'm like,
though.
oh
That's
no, now I'm
understandable.
totally comfortable. I got my shoes back on, and I continued running. But it was just, I didn't finish the 100-mile race. But it was just like, all these little things that it makes a funny story. I mean, I
Well, it
didn't
makes a funny story afterwards.
yeah. Well, I did beat myself up a little bit, but it's okay because now I know that because I had a not so good race this last time that I go into this bad water, knowing I have to finish. No, it just gives me more drive that I can't. I have to make it work.
Well, and speaking of somebody that has drive and has made it work and continues to make it work, our next guest, Mr. Rodney Flowers, thank you again for being on the phone with us. Hey, Rodney. Rodney, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, there we go. I thought we lost you in this technical world we're living in. Rodney, talk to us a little bit about your book, Get Up, and the importance of tapping into this ultimate potential. Like we just heard Shannon say, don't give up. You get up. How do you get up?
Well, first of all, you have to change your mindset. A lot of times when we are facing challenges and obstacles in life, they tend to keep us held down and restricted. I actually went through a process like that was very life-threatening. At the age of 15 years old, I suffered a spinal cord injury that rendered me paralyzed from the neck down, and doctors said that I was never going to walk again and be a vegetable, basically, for the rest of my life. And I actually spent 18 years of my life in a wheelchair. And what Get Up is about is how I got out of that wheelchair to walking again, becoming a 3-time international best-selling author, and speaking all over the world and spreading the message of getting up. So that's what that book is all about.
Now, how do you get up, though? What you're told at 15 years old? Well, you're not told. You feel it. That for all intents and purposes, your life is over, right? The life that you had lived. How did you make the decision? And I guess it was a decision that you made that said, no, I'm not going to be told what my future is going to be. I'm going to carve it out for myself.
Yeah. So, it wasn't easy at first, but what really changed things for me was the drive and the will for life and what the possibilities would look like in my life if I were to succeed. And I started to look at my challenge as more so as an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me to grow. It was an opportunity for me to discover more things about myself that I hadn't yet realized. And, I wanted to discover what that was. I wanted to see, what could I produce out of this situation? And so I began to change my perspective about my situation, and I didn't see it as doom and gloom. I started to see it as a possibility and an opportunity. And that's really what changed my mindset and started to drive me forward.
And
there were some things.
Sure. I was going to say, what did you learn about yourself?
Well, there were some things that I picked up, some principles that I live by today. And one of them that I would like to share is that, you don't just do it for you, do it for those that need to see you do it. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when we're in situations, at least for me, I was only thinking about myself and how bad it was for me and what my current condition was. And I wasn't looking at the possibility of how getting out of this wheelchair, making the most of yourself, would have an effect on the rest of the world.
Right.
And that began to drive me forward because I knew that it just wasn't about me, but it was about what I could, create for others. How many people could I inspire? And that's how I live my life today. When people hear this story, they read the book, or they hear me speak, they are inspired. And a lot of people are in situations that are not as as bad or as traumatizing as the situation that I was in, but I find that they are inspired by the ability to overcome, because they don't see or feel that they have that opportunity or they have that chance, you know. And to explain this further, when we look at a lot of the pleasures of life and a lot of the things that have been created in life, like the airplanes and the cell phones, and the fact that we're able to have this phone call and we're in two different, you know, locations, someone created that, okay? Someone did that, and we are able to enjoy that. And so my message is, you know, by living your best self, becoming your best self, you know, and not looking at your challenge as something that's holding you down, but as an opportunity to overcome it and become greater, what effect would that have on those around you? What effect would that have on your life? Because it's not about you. It's really about service and about helping others and being something great for someone else to enjoy.
It's so important, you know, and that there's so many people, like we were talking, that, you know, that fall into a depression and, you know, they're worried about, oh, you know, I don't like my job, or I don't like my marriage, or I don't like, and you talk to people like Shannon, like yourself, like everyone on this panel who has, you know, had a lot of experience living through stuff. Did you ever contemplate suicide?
Yes, I did, several times. There were times where I was in my wheelchair, and it was a busy highway not too far from my house, and I would drive out there and I would contemplate rolling out there and getting it over with. But you know what? That wouldn't correct anything. I mean, the situation would be there, and it would be like the ultimate defeat, you know, to kill myself. I mean, that, you know, what consolation is there in that? I mean, the situation has consumed you and defeated you at that point. And I didn't want to go out like that, although I felt bad. And then there was this fear that I would somehow survive it and be in worse condition than I was currently in. And so that became not an option. And I knew that, you know, I had to make a decision about, you know, how I was going to live the rest of my life. Now, I can live in misery and defeat and, you know, feel sorry for myself for the rest of my life, or I can decide to do something about it. And that's what I chose to do. I chose to do something about it. You
absolutely did, sir. Now, you are no longer even in a wheelchair. You are up and walking. So talk to me about the you know, you have to be damn proud of yourself, first of all.
Well, I mean, I'm proud of myself, but it's just a testament of, I mean, you've heard the gurus talk about, you know, creating what you want, you know, using your imagination to create the life you want, visualizing and all of that stuff. And I tell you what, that's what worked for me. You know, I kept my mindset on what I really wanted in life. And I got so emotional about that I didn't let the things that were not so great or didn't feel so good stop me from, you know, reaching for something that was greater. And I found that my behavior, you know, started to change. I started to do things instead of just moping and feeling sorry for myself and not wanting to do the things that would take me to a higher place. I found myself doing those things and enjoying that and enjoying the growth process. And that was really the key, because, I mean, think about someone in a wheelchair at 15 years old, you know, even in their 20s, you know, I went through that. I felt kind of worthless. So I found consolation in, you know, doing the things that I knew would help me overcome. And I had a mindset, you know, whether I walked again or not, I just wanted to be successful. I wanted to get my own job. I wanted to have my own house. I wanted to, you know, do these small things that, you know, sometimes we take for granted as able-bodied people. But for me, that was everything. And I started to build on those accomplishments. And it was a snowball effect, and I just kept going, and I haven't stopped yet.
Well, I love it, because your book, Get Up, is blowing up on Amazon. So anyone that wants to, you know, get this kind of motivation, I'm keeping you on the phone for a second, Rodney, but I just want to bump it over to Dr. Kim, because Dr. Kim, how important is, you know, what Rodney touched on, envisioning yourself, visioning that, you know, seeing yourself where you want to be?
Well, first of all, he's definitely a testament to mental toughness, which is a sports psychology term, and it's all based on evidence. So he utilized visualization, which they've actually shown. An Olympian ran an event in her mind, a diving event, and actually won. So visualization is tested and tried and true and evidence-based, and he not only using manifestation and visualization, but he's also very mentally tough, which is a term. It's basically resilience. And people that are successful, they're not necessarily the most talented. They don't, and this is shown by research. They're not necessarily the most intelligent either. What they are, though, is very disciplined and they're persevering. So you don't need to have talent or intellect or superior intelligence in order to be highly successful and be a model and be a bestseller, et cetera. You might have all those traits, but perseverance and discipline is what's going to get you out. And so is visualization, and so is mindfulness, which Shannon talked about earlier, being in the moment and also thinking and being more future-oriented rather than past-oriented. So being kind of mindful, being present-oriented and future-oriented are really key and utilizing visualization.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are absolute keys. What advice would you give, Rodney, to someone who's facing adversity like that? What do you say to someone who you meet in that same situation?
You have to tend to your irrational beliefs and be honest with yourself about what those irrational beliefs are. So you might have been told early on that you weren't going to be good enough, or you might have a condition in which a medical doctor deems you impaired functioning-wise for life. And it may not be pervasive, and that's exactly how he seemed to have transformed this, is that he wasn't going to let these beliefs, whether rational or irrational, get in his way. So you have to be honest about those irrational beliefs, and then you have to start challenging them. And a new study actually came out that positive thinking isn't just enough, because a lot of times when you're in a really deep depressive state, you're not going to believe that you're good enough or that you can get through. So what you do is, and he kind of remarked on earlier, is you think about what it would be like to influence others in the future. The fact that he had that statement, that's evidence-based, that's actually newest research, that's the way to use positive thinking. Rather than simply, I'm good enough, actually it's better to think about what you will feel like, what it will be like when you influence others or when you're spending time with your family, etc.
Now that you're influencing others, Rodney, what does it feel like?
Oh, it's amazing. I get so much reward out of that, and it makes everything that I've been through worthwhile. And I don't see it as, a traumatizing event anymore. It's actually a gift, because I can't say that I would be doing what I'm doing and inspiring the people that I'm, inspiring and having the impact on the world that I'm having, had I not gone through that accident.
Right.
And another thing I want to touch on that the doctor had said is, when we talk about living in the past and talking about what people have said to you and you believe those things, that's just story. And I didn't touch on that, but that was one thing I had to deal with, the story that I'm not good enough, or because of my disability, I can't this and I can't that. And if I would have stayed in that place, I would have believed that, and that would have been the result of my life. But because I knew that was just story, and I didn't believe that, I knew that's just something that had happened. Yes, I'm disabled, I have a disability, but it doesn't mean that my life couldn't be fulfilling, full of joy, happiness, and abundance, right? And so I think that trips people up, because their environment looks one way, and because it looks that way, it creates a story in their mind that they believe. But we are creative beings, and, she touched on that creative process. We can create what it is that we want. I mean, anyone can do this in any condition.
Such an important message to share. One last thing, Rodney, before we let you go. What advice would you give to somebody right now who may be dealing with, we've got this answer from Dr. Kim, but who may be dealing with some adversity? What would be your number one tip or advice to someone?
I would say, sit down, get present with where you are, right? And what I mean by that, get in a place of gratitude. Be thankful for that you're alive and well, because that's what it means when you have adversity. It's just life. Things show up. We can't control that at all times, but it just means that we are alive. So we want to stop, be still, get present, and then get clear about what it is we want to create. Where is it that we want to go in life? Where do we want to be? Where do you see yourself in a year, 3 years, 5 years? And when you have that vision and you're clear about that, and you you can begin to come up with an action plan that can help you go from where you are to really where you want to be. And that's what I have to say in a nutshell.
I love that. I love that so much.
Right.
Rodney
So
Flowers,
inspiring.
rodneyflowers.com, correct, if we want to hear more from you?
That is correct.
And your book is called Get Up, available on Amazon.
Yep.
All
Available
right.
on Amazon.
Awesome. Rodney, thank you so much for being a guest on our program today. Thank you for those really important words, because that's important stuff, guys. It really is.
It is. Amazing.
Rodney, I have, excuse me, I'm dying, I'm choking, a number of really interesting topics coming up over the summer that I would love to have you back on as a dial-in guest to comment some different streams of thought, but I think you're right down the alley of where we need to help people go, especially people over their 40s who may be feeling like, you know what, it's time to give up. It is never time to give up, people. It's always time to get up. Get up, go to Amazon, get Rodney's book. Rodney, thank you for being with us today. He's like unmuting. Okay, he's still on the line. I can see the time. Okay, Rodney, we got to let you go. Thank you, sir, for calling in.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye-bye.
Mhm.
All right, so
Wow.
so great.
What an
I mean,
inspiration.
you know,
Oh.
They're
Amazing.
hitting on all of the factors that are based on evidence, but I feel like they kind of organically got there without having to kind of,
They
get
meaning
into the
Rodney
research.
and
Rodney
Shannon.
and Shannon.
Okay, so
absolutely.
talk to us a little bit, Dr. Kim, about the new science behind how to get into that flow state. How do you get to where Shannon and Rodney organically got to?
Yeah, I think that we have a lot of parallels, the Get Up and Peak Mindset books. So basically, you need to be pulled by your dream and your goal. And a lot of times people fall away from, they think they can be very successful in their careers as CEOs, as actors, as musicians, as talk show hosts, etc. But maybe they have another dream that could really pull them. So you don't want to feel pushed into that dream. You want to feel pulled. So something I really talk about that's evidence-based is getting into your goals. One way to do that, evidence shows that if you write down your goals and you attend to them on a regular basis, you really don't want to underestimate that power, because more people are successful when they do that. And you'll see people actually tend to their goals, and look at them daily.
So should
and
you
write them
really
down.
physically write them
You
down?
have to physically write them down. It can be typed out and on your laptop. Absolutely.
So type it up, put it on your laptop, or maybe print it and put it on your fridge, I would say, right? So you get up, you go to eat, right? And you might,
Right.
Marky?
Gotta eat to live.
Stay healthy.
Stay
A
healthy.
goal
Open
is
the
a dream with a
fridge.
deadline.
Right, exactly.
So you want to be careful about your thoughts, and you want to know, based on cognitive restructuring, cognitive psychology, your thoughts create your emotions, which actually create your behaviors daily. So you really want to be careful of what you're thinking. And if you do have negative thoughts, allow them to float out and then tend to the emotions. You can do that by putting on a piece of
But I'm going to
music.
back you up for a second. So I have negative thoughts. Everyone has
Right.
negative thoughts.
Mhm.
And you said, okay, allow them to flow out.
Yeah. This is what you do. You
How?
describe it. So I'm realizing right now that I'm thinking that I'm not going to accomplish my goal. That's non-judgmental, because you're just describing it to yourself. So that right there kind of puts an interruption in that pattern, just by simply, when you get that negative thought, tend to it in a non-judgmental way and just say, I see that I'm thinking that I'm not going to be able to tend to my goal, or I'm not going to be able to accomplish it. That right there can interrupt that pattern in the brain and neurochemistry, and get you to kind of get a different pattern to habituate to.
Wow,
Great.
And it's all about awareness, I think, because I am trying really hard to live in this state of being content, being happy. I refuse to tolerate negativity anymore. And yet yesterday I had one of those days. We all get there, right? Where it was
We do.
just a shitty day. I was crying. I was upset. I was yelling at people. It was just a terrible day.
Might have been the heat.
It might have been the heat. That's right. Yeah, right. But I did at one point. I caught myself and I said, "Wait a minute. Whoa. Like, why are you allowing yourself to be in that shitty place? Like, it's up to you to say, flip that channel and move into a different space, right?"
That's true. Well, and Rodney touched on gratitude earlier, and as much as people do talk about this, and I am not about motivational fluff, I'm about research, and it looks like Rodney is as well. But gratitude is based on research. They've done studies that if you are in a place of gratitude, that will shift your emotions. Again, if that shifts your emotions, that's going to change your behaviors. So you might have your behavior align with your goal, maybe take one step toward your goal because you're in a better place emotionally.
Right.
So unfortunately, when you're having a bad day, you have to kind of push yourself into gratitude, which is very annoying when you're feeling irritable or depressed, but it's also very effective.
And something that's effective is, being in peak physical form. That always helps. Mr. Markey over here, who's
Yes.
looking so good. How important is gratitude in your life?
Oh, very big, very big. So a man thinketh that he is. So therefore, if it doesn't start with the mindset from the inside, because I like to say I like to work from the inside out. If it's not on the inside, it's definitely not on the outside. So whatever's glooming and brewing real good on the inside, it's definitely going to exuberate to the outside. So I just say that with gratitude, being very thankful, and just go for it. You have to start to take that step. And if you don't step, you won't be able to walk. So I used to tell people that, what motivates you and drive you? I said, condition, discipline, dedication. All of those together brings a winner every time.
And that can get you out of a scarcity mindset, which can help in business, in finances, in career, and relationships. If in relationships, for instance, you're feeling needy and you're not feeling filled up, you're actually going to be, tending too much to the relationship. in a pathological way where you're kind of forgetting about yourself. So if you're feeling kind of scarce in any realm of life, you're not going to be filled up and you're not going to be able to catapult yourself to your own goals.
I agree. Definitely agree.
Yeah.
Definitely agree.
But what piece of advice you'd give yourself now to keep looking and feeling good going into your 50s or late 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? Because I don't see you slowing down anytime soon.
No, I don't think I am. When she told me, a doctor of his said she works with retired NFL and HHL players right now. And I said, well, these guys are retiring. See, I'm just now beginning. They ending their pro careers. I'm getting ready to start my pro career.
They need your advice.
So a lot of guys said, man, how do you do that? I said, I just love it. It feels good for me. I mean, when I wake up, and it's just a good feeling, because I think at a mindset, I just said, I just want to do well. And the only way to do well is I have to keep pushing. I just keep pushing. I just keep telling myself we're just going to get better as age. It's just like fine wine. You get better with time. That's what I say. So I tell anybody, anything is possible. If you put your mindset to do it, you can achieve and do anything, and age is just the number.
That's
Just a
right.
number. I love that. And on that note, we're going to close because we're at the top of our hour. Age is just a number. Marquis Lyons, if we want to train with you, if we happen to be LA-based, where do we find you?
You can find me on my Instagram page, Marquis Lyons. Just go to me.
Awesome.
Child in.
Awesome, awesome. And Shannon.
My Instagram is Ultra Shannon, and I'm on Facebook to Shannon Farar-Griefer. Go to my regular page, not my athlete page. And if you want to train for a marathon, I do that. So I've taken many people, over 100 people, into their first marathon, and I always like to say everyone that I've trained has finished.
biggest piece of advice for someone that's looking to start training, to start running, what would you say to them?
You have to accept running and love it, and people don't go in loving running, but I make them love it, because I see that all of a sudden they see that connection with the dedication and the passion and the commitment. And then, I don't tell them the first day that we just did 5 miles, and then they think, oh my God, I just ran 5 miles. I haven't done that since I was 14, and it makes them feel empowered. So I think that it's all those building blocks to make them become this greater person, because they see what they're capable of. I mean, we don't know what we're capable of, but our mind is really a powerful tool, and our body is even that much more powerful, because we are so capable of so many things that we don't want to attempt because we're afraid of failure. So you don't know what you're made of till you go out there and do it.
Being afraid of failure is something that I'm sure you get hit with a lot. Dr. Kim, couple last points on your end.
Well, we just need to kind of tend to mental toughness and really look at people like Rodney and Shannon. And remember, even if you're an overachiever, to never stop recreating yourself. So that can be a major protective barrier against depressive symptoms. Yeah, recreate yourself. And that's what we're all about here at LA40, as we recreate ourselves or continue to get better with fine wine. Speaking of wine, actually, just got to. So at 10 in the morning, I get gifted with a bottle of wine. I'm thinking it's a good day. It is a better day than yesterday was.
Sure.
Dr. Kim, her book, Peak Mindset. Please go out and pick this up. Very important stuff.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Dr. Kim Chronister, and Peak Mindset's on Amazon.
That's right. Thank you, Dr. Kim. And, of course, big shout out and thank you to Rodney Flowers, inspirational, motivational speaker. You can see why. His book,
guy.
Get Up, was worth a read, trust me. Thank you to all of you today for making the trip over here. Thank you, of course, to you for tuning in every Thursday here on LA Talk Radio for LA40. I'm your host, Katerina Cozias. Next week, we are delving into, oh shit, I'm still not a parent. So you're going to want to tune in for that episode. We got some good conversation coming at you next week. All right, thanks, y'all. Have a good day. Bye now.
You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.